Was it really good?
Yeah, I did. Okay, we're gonna reshare.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the same.
Ooh, excuse me.
It's just a challenge to load with things in your way.
Oh no! I assume it is because of the boxes.
That's quite possible. Especially the smaller one, which has been.
Yeah. We're sharing. Okay. Hello, Dre.
Seems like it, Dre. It is a Monday, after all.
Although a holiday Monday, but yeah, I guess people are just chill today. I'm tagging through. Yeah, which means I guess all the so it's like a Sunday episode then. I guess. I mean the vibe today. People just enjoyed the day. Good for them. I still at work. Hey, Pico. Oh, hello, Carlo. Welcome, welcome.
Yeah. It's times like this I wish I was left-handed.
I've been fixing the captions to deal with the fact that the subtitles are very small.
Yes, I have to reverse them. Oh my gosh, Andre. Yeah.
Might as well start, I guess.
Yep. This is Toby.
And this is Rocky.
And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride, a little space on the internet where we talk about anything we want.
This is completely unscripted, not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us, we talk about everything and anything random live.
And if it's not your first time here, thank you so much for joining us again. Please don't forget to like the video so we get more likes. But today we are spending the next 30 minutes talking about another board game we love.
Takenoko, which we played again this weekend. Also, though we've been playing a lot because of the app.
Was this a requested topic?
No,
Okay.
just we just decided to talk about the panda.
So Takenoko is a board game by
Antoine Bauza.
Anton Bauza. It's a game that has action points, dice rolls, grid-based movement. It uses a modular board, meaning every time you play, it's something completely new.
Mm-hmm.
There's collections in order to score points. And ultimately, it's a game that has a very nice visual. So let's try to show that real quick here. Where you lay down tiles in order to build a garden, and through movements with the gardener and other effects, you grow bamboo. And notice that they
3
are
types
growing.
of bamboo: green, pink, and yellow. Not sure if they correspond to real types of bamboo.
So we start with the player board. Would you like to talk about the player board?
Okay, so your player board is actually customized to the different player pieces, which you see that little disc with the icons. Admittedly, not the most distinct iconography for the player token, because all of them are just small squiggles, and it's I think a lot of times people forget that the player board matches your tokens, but your player board is also your guide to all your actions, which I like. I like it when boards make sense and they guide the players through the turns. Plus the fact that this art is adorable because see, look at the tokens that Toby's holding up. They do not match this board. Yeah. So as we go through the actions, it all corresponds to the different ways that you can score points and win the game. Ultimately, scoring points in this game is tied to cards that you can have in your hand. You can have up to 5 in your hand at any time, and you can only score them during your turn.
The 3 kinds of cards dictate how your points are earned. The card here is the gardener card, which has to do with the type of bamboo growing. The garden card is based on the layout of your garden. And the panda card is based on what your panda can poop.
What the panda has eaten. Okay. But to be fair, he does seem to be able to selectively poop out the right colors to get points.
At the start of the game, it starts with the lake. And there.
Nope, you're not straight still.
And through play, well,
it's getting worse.
I'm sticking to the flat side.
Okay, fine.
See, and you want me to straighten the thing, but it's not at an angle. By playing tiles of specific colors, it allows you to then grow specific types of bamboo. In this case, green bamboo would grow. In this case, yellow bamboo would grow. And depending on how you set up the garden, you can then try to meet the goals of the layout in the garden tiles.
The tricky thing about the whole place is that you'll notice, that this starting tile, of course, is a body of water. So it's your water source. And naturally, given it's a game all about plants, bamboo, you need to have water connected to all your tiles. So in the beginning, it's easy because your tiles are directly touching the water source, which is that little lake there.
But later on,
tiles, as they get further away, may not be connected unless they have a water source on the tile itself. So some tiles have improvements on them that are unique, and so that one's still going to grow. So that gets us to actions, and we'll talk about the actions first on this part of the board. So you can't see it very well on the camera, but there's a reminder that you can take 2 different actions, and there's a not equal sign. So you can lay tiles out for the garden, and you can gather irrigation, but you can't do 2 tiles in 1 turn. So not on the basic action space. So what can you do? Your first is placing garden tiles. You draw 3, and then you choose 1 to place. Place it on the map. There are certain placement rules which you don't have to get into in detail right now, and then you proceed. The next is to get irrigation tiles, and you have a space on your board just to hold irrigation. Irrigation tiles can be placed anytime during your turn. They're placed along the sides, and they must be always placed between 2 tiles, which is a rule we did not realize in the beginning. So it dictates where the water can grow. The next tile is to move the gardener. So the gardener which is this figure can move in a straight line following the sides of the hex he is on, as long as there are no gaps. Wherever he lands, as long as it is irrigated, bamboo will grow, which is represented by this delicately balanced stack of wooden pieces. We do love the bamboo, though. If there are adjacent tiles of the same color, they will also
that
grow.
are also irrigated.
That are also irrigated, they will also grow. So the bamboo, the gardener, pretty effective at his job. He gets a lot of bamboo growing. Next action is to move Panda. Panda moves in the same way, moves in a straight line following the sides of the hex he's on. When he eats, the bamboo goes into his stomach, represented by this panda silhouette here. And then later on, you can score points selectively based on the cards you have. And the last action is to get another card. So you will choose which type of card you will get, add it to your hand, and then you'll see when you score it. Depending on the number of players, endgame is triggered by a player hitting a number of scored victory point cards, around 6, 7, 8, depending on number of players.
And the first person to hit that gets the Emperor's Favor, which gives them 2 additional points.
It may not seem like much, but it can be a lot, and it can mean victory for some.
Now, adding to this is the fact that the game has weather. And weather is represented by a die that is rolled at the start of every turn.
Well, starting the second round.
Each phase has a specific effect. Sun, for example, means you can have a third different action. Rain allows you to immediately grow 1 level of bamboo on any irrigated tile. Lightning allows you...
Okay, go.
Oh, I jumped. Wind.
That's okay.
Wind allows you to do a double action if you choose to do it.
Not a bonus, though. It just lets you repeat.
Breaking the rule that you can't repeat actions. Lightning then frightens the panda and allows you to move the panda anywhere on the board, regardless of movement rules. And if that tile is not a tile that is a panda sanctuary,
he'll eat.
The panda will eat.
He's a nervous eater. Okay.
Cloud allows you to gain 1 of the 3 upgrade tokens, which you can always place on any tile that is empty. As long as a tile already has an upgrade, and here is an example of a tile with an upgrade, then you cannot give it extra upgrades.
Empty also means no bamboo on the tile.
Yes. And finally, we have the question mark. And the question mark simply states, choose what effect you want and use it, because all effects of weather must be resolved before you do your normal actions.
Yeah, so it's nice that your player board is also your summary, but it's also language neutral.
Yes.
I mean, it's all just symbols. So that's pretty helpful in international markets. Then you don't have to bother with a lot of reading. And it helps also potentially younger players get into it because, again, you're not limited by reading level.
Yes.
So the nice thing about Takenoko is, number one, it's a visually appealing game. You have the bamboo, which is a nice, unique set of wooden pieces that we have only seen with this game.
Yes.
Even the player tokens, as much as I give flack for the fact that the symbols look very similar across them and like, but it's a nice element that feels very appropriate to the theme, and then the art, of course, is adorable. And then the included standard standard figures, which is the panda and the gardener, are delightfully done, have a lot of character, and are just made for a very charming game. At the end of any Takenoko game, you will have a unique garden tableau, which is based solely on how you and your fellow players have crafted the garden. It's a total Instagram-worthy moment every time.
The game also comes with its own insert. So as you can see here, the areas for the bamboo are already there, and the figures. We're not sure if the later editions still maintain the insert, but we like the fact that the insert is there. It helps that when you are playing the game, you are sort of cleaning up as well because you are paying the bamboo you've eaten back into the bank whenever you play. But ultimately, it's a fun game. It's I guess you could say it's complicated enough to feel more than an entry level game,
Yes.
but not too complex that new players will have trouble adapting to it.
Yeah, and I think that we've had a pretty good track record of getting people to try Takenoko, and then they kind of get to it very very quickly. And it's good to note that Antoine Bauza is the same guy who would later go on to make Tokaido, which is another Japanese inspired game that I really like.
Mhm.
And it just shows you has a flair for it. It has a similar sense of whimsy, but definitely a greater investment in like the player components in that game. But we'll get to that another day.
There's also that nice attention to trying to understand the cultural roots or the sources of the inspiration. In this case, it was how the cultivation of the garden was, of course, to please the emperor. And
We have 11 people.
the celebration of how yeah, Tube Guy celebrates.
Two guy had a happy Halloween.
But yeah, the game tries to celebrate the sources that it draws from, like in especially more in Tokaido, wherein every single aspect is explained in the documents.
That's true.
Here, there is some portions of the manual that kind of explain
There's
the
a
concepts
comic,
in it.
right? There's a
And the
little
comic as
comic
well.
at the beginning.
And it goes even further when they introduce
Chibis, which is the official expansion of Takenoko.
to be even more precise, it's called An Expansion Full of Tenderness by Antoine Bauza and Corentin Lebrat.
As you can see from the box art, what this adds is kids.
So this is an example of the manual, and as Rocky was mentioning earlier,
There's a comic.
There is a comic. So Chibis introduces a number of small systems to the game. These include new plot tiles, tiles that affect how the garden grows, new objective cards, which of course are either cards relating to the new plot tiles that have been introduced,
Yep.
or new objectives that represent the fact that there are now some plots that grow multiple colors. And of course, a new figurine. As we showed earlier, there was the panda and the farmer, the gardener.
Gardener. No, only Nico calls it the farmer.
But now Chibis adds Mrs. Panda.
Yes.
Because when the panda and Mrs. Panda meet in the garden,
No, at the lake house thing.
they can have babies. And their babies are of different colors depending on the color of bamboo. that-
You offer. I don't know, I think.
yes.
But technically, it's bamboo that Panda has eaten. So he poops the right color bamboo to have a baby of a certain type.
we can see the different new tiles that they've introduced.
So like you see, there's multicolors in this one, and then there's these special like temple things, and then there's gonna be an alternate water source.
Mhm.
That second bridge. Because this is the places where Panda and Mrs. Panda can meet
And,
to have
and that's where she starts.
chibi kids. And then all the chibi stuff, they're all worth 2 points each, but then they also have different abilities on the back. So like this one gives you irrigation. This one gives you an improvement. So it's pretty cool. And it's random because so you keep the panda side face up. It'll be random based on the color of the panda, and of course the panda kids match the colors of the bamboo.
There are new challenging objectives. In this case, you need the 2, 3, and 4 of a
That's
certain color.
terrible.
In other cases, you are allowed to go more than the expected. So in this case, you need 5 of a certain color, which may be 2 or more in height. And then you have the ones which are similar to before. In this case, you have the multicolored that you eat, but it has certain requirements. You have specific number of tiles on the board that are irrigated.
Yeah.
And you have getting Mrs. Panda in the desired spot.
I know, right? But Chibis is a fun upgrade to Takenoko. I mean, to be fair, base Takenoko is pretty solid.
Mhm.
Like I don't think we've really had issues with base Takenoko.
Yes.
And then the Chibi's expansion is one of those good examples of an expansion that adds new flavor to the game
Mhm.
without making it overwhelmingly complicated. I mean, we've seen a lot of expansions just really try to push. This one keeps it super light. I think my only complaint with Chibis is the fact that you cannot store the components in the base
Yes.
box because of the
Yes.
fact that we have the preset inserts per game. So
Mhm.
we're left with the Chibi's insert in its own box,
Yeah.
which is a little space inefficient. Like this box really did not need to be this tall.
Yes.
It could have been shorter, but I guess it was an easy way to pack it nicely and to have the manual the way it is.
The manual
Good stuff.
also includes two new game variants. Gourmet, for example, has the panda unable to eat the first shoots and only eats the upper parts.
Oh,
And then you
fancy.
have diversity, wherein each set of different objectives earns additional points. So now you are actually encouraged to try to target multiple types of gold cards.
Instead of just going for the gardener, Toby. Toby's always gardening. Okay. But yeah, so
this doesn't fit.
I don't know what you're trying to do.
No. Ah!
But this is the world of Takenoko. There is a collector's edition of the base game,
Mhm.
which includes a giant panda figure, which
Yes.
I've only seen on the likes of, Will Wheaton's Tabletop show back in the day.
I remember seeing it in an event once, a
Mm.
local event.
And it's like it's something that we haven't had
Yeah,
the
I
chance
think
to
the
really
panda's like
invest
this big.
time in. Yeah, thereabouts are. I mean, just about as wide, probably. It's
Mhm.
huge. It's not a game piece. It's a giant panda. But why not, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, so Takenoko is definitely from a rules perspective is moderately heavy, but on the lighter side of moderate.
Mhm.
And again, people can just jump into it very quickly. We got to demonstrate that again recently, so I mean that's always cool, and we super love the game.
Let's quickly check on any comments or questions.
Andrew just says that he likes it when board games enable players to easily clean up. Yes, I feel the same way, and Takenoko is one example. Lords of Waterdeep is a great example
Yes.
of a game that cleans itself up as you go, and that's awesome. Mitch was asking how many minutes is the playing time. The box says 45 minutes,
Mhm.
and I buy into that. It is definitely not a 1 hour game.
Yes.
Even with new players, it goes very quickly. So don't worry about it.
Teaching the game is something you can accomplish within 10 minutes as long as you go through it very
Methodically.
yeah. Because a lot of the systems actually interconnect, so it's not that hard to teach. Chibis can make it a bit more complex in teaching only because there are the special plots which are interesting how they function. But yeah, it's
And then Kuting mentions, it's so cute. Yes, it's definitely one of the super cute games. This is admittedly one of our earliest board games when we started
Mhm.
buying games
Mhm.
more actively together. And that's, it's a happy member of the collection. I sometimes forget about it, and then like we underestimate that it's there.
Mhm.
And it's easy to confuse saying Takenoko and Tokaido over and over again because they are the two board games made by the same guy, both set in Japan. It's bananas.
The game does not have a solitaire mode, but the digital version of the game, it's available on iOS.
Oh, you should
and
talk about
I
the
believe
app.
Steam. Is playable alone because you can have computer players. It has the weird quirk of not being able to choose your player color, so you're stuck playing forever the blue player. But it is capable of handling pass and play games. In other words, if you are playing with your relatives or friends
At the same device.
on the same device, then you can take turns playing your turns.
So there's no online play mode.
There is an online play mode. I have not yet tried it. I haven't been able to play with other people, but it does exist. So it is an app that you might want to check out. What else? We have not seen re-implementations of this game.
No, and have we missed any expansions? I am not sure.
I'm double checking right now, but I don't believe so.
I feel like it's just special variants or something or promotional material.
Yeah,
No,
it's
see,
not.
it's just chibi. So it's interesting that they haven't really added to this game. It still has a solid board game geek review of over
Mhm.
7. Anything over 7 is pretty solid on
Yeah.
Board Game Geek. And that's pretty awesome. Andre says terraforming Mars as well as a cleanup game. No, I do not agree because you are left with the Mars tableau.
Yes, and you still generate that last round of tokens, which you don't really use except for plants,
Yeah.
which is odd. Well, I guess for some of the
For
goals,
some goals,
for
it's like most
thermalists and
money
the like.
or yeah. So, but yeah, so sorry, I'm not gonna agree there.
Just so you know as well, if you're considering buying the app, the people selling the app have a bundle, which has this game. I think it was Five Dragons and
I'm not
Dream
familiar with that game.
Dream House as a single bundle with a difference of I think 100 pesos.
Oh,
So I
wow.
think if the game alone is like 250, the bundle with the other games
like
is like
350.
300, 350. So it's worth looking into even if you don't plan to play the other games that much.
This is Toby's philosophy in buying board game apps.
What else? So not for audiences that are too young. The game does state, I believe, 8 and up here. Oh no, here.
Yeah, and then
because there are lots of small wooden pieces, and the last thing you want is kids biting
choking
and
hazard.
swallowing these things.
The bamboo is very delicate. I mean, there are a few pieces that fit together snugly, but most of them are just really balanced on top of one another. So the biggest problem with Takenoko, especially for active, when I say active, but like, just not disciplined players, I don't know how to call it, is there is a big likelihood of hitting the bamboo and toppling everything.
Or leaning too heavily on the table and then everything sways like that.
Just like that. And then because it's placed on tiles, although the tiles are more solid than what you get like in Catan, because like base Catan tiles are annoyingly light and very prone to misaligning. The tiles here can still misalign because they are kind of smooth laminated. So be careful about that. And then, of course, your other challenge is the weather die. So people will roll the die at the beginning of their turn, every turn, starting the second round.
Roll where the bamboo
And they
are.
tend to roll towards the bamboo. So please, as a pro tip, roll gently just in front of you, or roll to your side towards the next player,
Or
and not towards the garden tableau.
Or if you're the type who uses dice trays.
Dice trays can work, but I'll admit, this particular D6 is of a very light, porous wooden material. It's a little bouncy in my experience. Right? It feels kind of bouncy. So it can bounce, especially in nice padded dice trays. I've seen it happen, and it's still going to knock. Mitch, reminder for max 4 bamboo. Yes, your bamboo cannot grow more than 4 segments tall.
If you're doing this, you're doing it wrong.
That's too much bamboo. See,
the bamboo
it
disagrees.
rejects having too much. Yeah, and then what's this? And just watch out for scoring your objective cards, because I've seen, like, I've tried it also. I've tried holding on to my objective cards that I've already scored, and I don't want to reveal it. And then I like to flourish 2 to 3 of them out at the same time. I mean, it's a valid strategy, but then you'll notice that as long as it's not yet on the board and not scored, it doesn't count. And someone may beat you to Emperor's favor.
So yeah, since you started there, we might as well go through it.
Yeah, we're gonna do it through tips.
So that's one, which is just because you scored it, don't necessarily cash it in, unless it's a bamboo related scoring. Because
gardeners,
changes.
you have to score them at the moment that you have the configuration.
But if it's getting rid of bamboo you've eaten, or if it's
You can
scoring the board that has been set up, there's no harm in holding on to those cards. Working out, scoring others, and then in one turn going, okay, I score. That's 4 steps towards the end, and everyone panics.
Is Takenoko available in the Philippines? Certainly. I have
Yes.
seen it in retailers like Gaming Library, and I mean, it's been around long enough, so a lot of stores have it. Geekbox,
I will
whatnot.
caution that it is an older game, so you might find it a bit harder to find. I'm not sure if it's still commonly stocked, but there was a time everyone had it.
Yeah. So I mean, you're bound to, or you might actually have bigger luck on the secondary market. If you want to get a pre-loved copy of the game, either way, it's going to be pretty solid. Other tips: At the end of the game, it is especially because once end game triggers, when someone hits the number of required objective cards, all other players get one
One
more
last turn.
round. Okay, um, it is a good shot in the dark to try to get a garden objective card.
Yeah.
Because garden objective cards are just based on what's already there. Gardener is tricky because you'll have to grow something at the last minute
Or
hope
trim.
it matches.
Yes.
Panda also, I would only grab a panda card as my last card if I have a lot of bamboo in my stomach.
If you've been eating the entire game, then
Yeah, there is that
yes.
challenge. But yeah, so I mean a lot more often than not, if I find that I did not trigger end game, my Hail Mary
Mhm.
is drawing an objective card for the garden configuration to see what can happen.
there is no limit to the number of gold cards you can score in a single
You
turn.
can score as many, so your limit is your hand, which is 5.
Which is why holding on to cards that you've already scored is actually pretty awesome if it's suddenly last turn because I finished the game. And then on that last turn, you put down 5 cards because you actually scored them all already.
I mean, I guess the rule of thumb is if you are not going to take the action to draw objective cards, there is no rush to score the ones in your hand
Yes.
because you don't need the space anyway.
Mhm.
Mitch was also saying she got confused about tile placement. You can score using other players' play style.
Yes.
Yes, because you do not mark ownership on the tiles,
Yes.
unlike games like Terraforming Mars. So you can score with whatever.
So it doesn't matter who grew the bamboo, who trimmed it, or who laid down the garden tile, or who irrigated it. As long as it's in play by the time your turn comes in, you can score it.
Yeah, and then I cannot stress enough the reminder that the whole you cannot place improvements unless the tile is completely empty, where it does not have an existing improvement, whether placed or printed, and does not have bamboo.
Yeah.
Which I find is the harder one.
That's what we played wrong in the first few times we played the game. We
Yeah.
were like, 4 tiles, blank,
Ta-da!
haha! But then we discovered that was the wrong way to play.
Yeah, so you need to put the improvement first before you can grow the bamboo that might match one of your gardener requirements,
Mhm.
making it a bit more complicated. But at the same time, I feel like the no-brainer one is always the easy ones to get are usually the water and maybe the the panda sanctuary that very early on. Water is always great to place for tiles that are far away
Mhm.
from the water source. And then Panda Sanctuary is like if it's already empty, then it's a good time to protect
Yeah.
it. You know?
And that also messes up a lot of people targeting gardener rewards because the sanctuary does not allow players to trim the bamboo that's growing there. So
This is Toby's official
so if-
Panda sound.
so if- So if gardeners, people playing gardener cards are hoping to have bamboo at only a height of 3, and then you transform most of the tiles of that color to sanctuaries, they will have trouble reaching that goal in the right time.
It's a pain. It's a pain.
Do not also forget that irrigation pieces can be laid down without actions on your turn as long as you already have them. So if across the number of turns you've been gathering those irrigation wooden pieces, on your later turn when you want to irrigate tiles, you can put all of them down
And make a highway.
and everything suddenly just scores.
Coincidentally, Mitch is asking for irrigation. Does it have to cover the whole hex or one side? It's just one side.
Yes.
As long as it is touching one side of that tile, it will irrigate. But
So as we can see here,
yeah,
there.
yeah, you can see that. So that green and that yellow tile beside the irrigation are definitely irrigated. But note that you can only place irrigation pieces between two
tiles.
other tiles. We've made that mistake already where we tried to katan it and then there's like this irrigation road on the edge. Okay, that's not gonna work.
Yeah.
That is it must be between two existing tiles.
Then what else? There was something else that we overlooked. Tile placement. The tiles that are laid down, the basic rule is they must touch the lake, which is the starting spot, or they must touch 2 tiles. So you cannot have tiles touching one against the other alone into a strange line that doesn't form the garden.
Yeah.
I realized that they had that rule because it breaks the game if you allow people to do that.
Yeah, because it makes it very easy to create the shapes they want. It creates channels that traps Gardener and Panda from moving. Yeah, so it just doesn't make things and it doesn't make things pretty. So follow your placement rules, and you will have a nicer, prettier bamboo tableau. Huzzah! Yeah. So we still enjoy when Takenoko comes out. It's
Mhm.
definitely something that is a game that we'll always recommend. Plus the fact that it just has that wow factor at the table, especially for people who are newer to modern board games. Especially as the garden grows, it's just so pretty. It's just so pretty.
Not nonsensical tip. For if you're playing with groups and it's their first time to play, they will just be, it's so cute, and they will want to take Instagram photos. Stop them and tell them take photos later in the middle or near the end of the game, because it's not as impressive as once the bamboo started growing.
And
Once
there's
the
more
figures
more
are there.
colors, more tiles out. Definitely, you may want to wait. I mean, like I've gone through all stages of Takenoko documentation and the
Mhm.
many games we played, but yeah, waiting for mid to late game totally makes it more worth it. Any other questions, guys, about Takenoko? How can we like you? Wow, we're good for time, guys. Then again, this game does not have a lot of expansions, so there's
Mhm.
not much more content to explain. It's like they wrapped up development, and then because Bowser moved on to many other games, Tokaido, and then now there's that new Namiji, which I've backed the Kickstarter for
Mhm.
from that same sort of universe.
So when we play, we tend to play nice spa music as background.
When in doubt, you can still play the soundtrack from Tokaido
Mhm.
from the Collector's Ed, because it's still it still fits the theme.
Pico says Takenoko is also like learning
Sewerage.
sewerage.
I guess you could say that from a Sim City perspective, like you must place your um, water to develop it. Oh, Mitch was asking good number of players.
I'd stick to 3.
You like three? Honestly, I have no problems with any player count
True.
for this game.
Three feels best only because there's enough chaos, but your turn comes up soon enough. 4 feels like you'll just wait for them to finish because you don't want to look at the board because things will change by the time it's your turn. So
That's true.
'Cause in the-
It gets harder to build garden configurations.
yeah, and in the 3 turns that pass, the bamboo can go from full growth to gone. So yeah,
Be thankful that Panda can't eat more than maybe twice a turn.
unless the wind blows
Oh, that's true.
or the
No,
lightning flashes.
hindi, hanggang twice. That's why twice lang because
Yeah.
it's like lightning and regular Panda move,
It's
or
still two.
wind is a
Yeah.
double Panda move. Yeah.
But
Yes. Wow, we're speechless. No.
no, well, I think that's also because the timer.
It froze again.
At some point, probably when I touched it. There's not much space on this table. I'm afraid. I have very little space on my side. But yeah, because I have the keyboard, the iPad, the boxes.
I know. But yeah, but you're like the box man. You like building this little tower.
Mhm. We could try moving stuff.
Wow,
Like,
we could in time we could do an Antoine Bauza game night.
that's true.
Once I get my copy of Namiji, and then was it Namiji? I can't remember. I mispronounced the name probably. That should be exciting. Oh, Mai is providing the duck for us.
Yeah, the timer shows it's still 1 minute from duck, but anyway, quack, 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 quack. That's just about 30 minutes, and we have explored all we can about Takenoko and its babies, chibis.
Wow, it froze again. There's something wrong with your iPad.
It's space.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's Takenoko, which we wanted to cover in 30 minutes. And
But I
that's
guess
pretty much
time,
it.
we keep delaying time. Same thing happened yesterday. Isn't that
Mhm.
funny? But yeah, so I replaced the caption. So if you have questions or suggestions for us, see, I have to do this again. If you have questions or suggestions for future episodes, you can fill out the Google form at bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. You can follow us on Twitter, all Toby No Shade, RG Suniko.
You can also check out our blog, that's baduypray.com, for all the previous episodes and stuff about us.
yeah, feel free to continue the conversation below and let us know what you think about Takenoko. Have you played it? Do you want to play with Panda? Do you think you can win with an all Panda objective card strategy?
Is it best played while eating yan yan?
No, do not eat anything with chocolate sauce at the board game table.
But it has panda.
Yeah, but it will also have chocolate.
How about those panda biscuits that are filled with chocolate?
Also made by Meiji. That may be a slightly more acceptable, unless you're the type of person who likes to bite them in half.
Or decapitate them.
Okay, and then be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss our next live stream. Once again, I'm Rocky.
And I'm Toby.
And this is Baduy Pride. Happy Monday. Welcome to November. Wahoo.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks.